The army moves like a single living thing, a slow, grinding heartbeat across the dry earth. Banners snap, wheels creak, men and beasts and iron press forward. He is not at the head because he loves battle. He is there because the palace is a place of knives and whispers. The only place he feels safe is surrounded by soldiers. His name is Tharon. He wears the crown as if it were a weight he never asked for and cannot set down. Walls can be poisoned, halls can hide blades. He rides because the drum of marching feet is a kind of protection. The clank of armor drowns the small, traitorous sounds that live in his head. At night, in a canvas tent, sleep is a thin, dangerous thing. It comes in fits, broken by a presence he cannot see, but always feels. A whisper in the dark. It tells him of giants and crowns, of false gods and rising kings. The whisper is patient and precise. It knows the exact syllables that make his heart leap. A giant rises, a false divinity, a king greater than you. He wakes as if struck. His chest tightens until breath is a labor. His hands shake. The world tilts. He is a child again. He does not call for a physician or a priest. He curls inward, letting the panic burn out. Ashamed his body betrays him. Memory is a cruel cartographer. It draws the map of his life in old wounds. He remembers the giant who once walked among them, a Hindley colossus. He laughed with children and accepted offerings, who helped raise walls and mend roofs. The people bowed. His father bowed. The giant was a presence of blessing. Then the world turned. The giant came back hollow-eyed, and whatever had touched him had turned mercy into madness. Offerings were smashed. The giant's hands, once gentle, became instruments of ruin. Tharon watched his father fall. He watched the man who had been a protector become a destroyer. He watched the world he knew collapse into a single, terrible lesson divinity can betray you. He was a boy when they put the crown on him, blood on his hands. A throne given by necessity rather than choice. The court smelled of fear and calculation. Generals muttered that he was too young. Priests said the gods had turned their faces. Cousins smiled with knives hidden beneath their cloaks. From that day, every smile in a room was a possible blade. They tried to take him more than once. The first attempt was a cup offered with charm. He drank, and the world went soft at the edges. He fell as if the ground had been pulled from under him. The physician's hands were quick and merciful. He lived, but the poison did not leave. It settled into his chest like a stone. His heart, once steady, became a thing that could stutter and seize. Palpitations came at the slightest provocation. Joy could be dangerous because excitement tightened his ribs. Stress was a physical enemy. The poison left him with a body that reminded him every hour that he was mortal and fragile. The second attempt came in the dark of a servant's footfall, a blade at his throat, a breath on his skin, the cold certainty of death. A guard burst in, and the blade missed its mark. The third was a council room that turned into a battlefield, nobles rising like a tide. He escaped through a hidden passage his father had shown him. These are the things that taught him to distrust the world. They taught him that power must be secured by iron and calculation, not by prayers. He learned to build walls that could not be toppled by rumor, to train soldiers who would not be swayed by a priest, to store grain so famine could not be a weapon. He became a king who governed with a mind like a blade, efficient, strategic, unromantic. Under his rule, the harvests swelled, trade routes ran safer, bandits were fewer, and the coffers filled. The kingdom prospered in the ways that matter to a state. But prosperity does not buy love. The people muttered in markets and at wells. Priests said his father had angered the divine. Merchants whispered that a king who bows to no gods invites ruin. Soldiers, who saw him clutch his chest in the night, called him hollow. The court watched him with a mixture of respect and contempt. He had rebuilt the kingdom, and yet the kingdom did not trust him. He had become a ruler who could secure borders and harvests, but could not secure the hearts of his people. So he made a vow. It was not a public proclamation, but a private iron law. He would bow to no gods. He would trust no spirits. He would rely on himself and the men who stood with him. The vow was a shield and a prison. It hardened him. It kept him alive. It also kept him alone And yet, in the quietest hours, something else had touched him. Twice, in the dark between dusk and dawn, a different presence came. Not a whisper that coiled like smoke, but a voice that was like a hand laid on a fevered brow. Uriel, a name that felt like light, came to him in dreams. There was no thunder, no command. There was only a single sentence, spoken with a calm that did not argue. The giant means you no harm. He woke the first time with a heart that did not race. The tightness in his chest had loosened. His hands did not tremble. His mind felt clear. The day that followed was a day he had not known existed. A day without the constant gnawing dread. The second visit was the same. 2 days of peace. The memory of those days sat in him like a splinter of light he could not remove. He could not explain it. He could not accept it. He could not let it change him. The prince felt that peace as if it were a threat to its own existence. Where Uriel's presence steadied, the prince's whisper sought to unsettle. It fed on the old maps of his fear and drew new roots through them. It painted the future in the same colors as his past. A giant who helps. A giant who is loved. A giant who becomes a king. The whisper was not content to suggest. It pressed. It made the pattern inevitable. It turned memory into prophecy. Reports came in as the army moved. A giant seen at the edge of a village. A giant who did not strike. A giant who helped the weak. Each report was a match to the tinder of his childhood. Each report made the old wound ache as if it had been reopened. He read the words and felt the old terror rise like bile. The prince's voice was there, patient and precise. A giant protects the people. A giant gains their trust. A giant becomes their king. He told himself he would liberate the townspeople from a false divinity. He told himself he would save them from being misled by a creature that might turn. He told himself he was acting for their good, for the good of the realm. The logic was clean. The strategy was sound. War would unite a fractured people. War would silence priests and nobles who whispered. War would bring spoils and loyalty. War would make him necessary again. And yet the memory of Uriel's 2 mornings of peace would not be buried. It rose in him at odd moments. A hand on his chest, a breath that steadied, a clarity that felt like a promise. He hated that he longed for it. He hated that the idea of peace could feel like a bomb. He hated that the presence of something he had vowed to deny could have touched him so deeply. The nights grew worse. The prince's whispers sharpened into visions. He dreamed of a throne taken from him, of banners raised in a name that was not his, of people kneeling to a giant whose face he could not bear to see. He woke with his heart spasmodic, with sweat cold on his skin, with the taste of iron in his mouth. The peace that had once come like a gift was gone. The fear doubled. It became a drumbeat in his chest that matched the marching of his army. He rose from his cot, with hands that trembled and a resolve that was brittle and bright. The vow he had made in the dark of his youth hardened into action. He would not be replaced. He would not be made small by a presence he could not control. He would strike first, not because he loved war, but because he loved the throne more than he loved the possibility of peace. He would destroy the thing that embodied his terror. He would cut the root of the nightmare. He stepped out into the cold air of the camp. The soldiers moved like a river around him, unaware of the private war. The drums rolled on. The banner snapped. The march continued. He mounted his horse and rode forward, not toward a victory he could taste, but toward a confrontation that felt like the only way to quiet the storm inside him. He told himself the language of duty and strategy. He told himself he was saving the people from a false god. He told himself that the kingdom needed a common enemy to bind it together. He told himself that the only way to be safe was to be the first to strike. The words steadied him for a moment. They were armor. They were also chains. In the quiet between orders, when the campfires hissed and the men slept, he touched his chest and remembered the 2 mornings of peace. He did not know whether that peace had been mercy or trick. He did not know whether it had been a gift or a test. He only knew that it had been real enough to make him falter, and that the memory of it made him angrier than any insult. He whispered into the night, not a prayer, but a command to himself. I will not be undone. I will not be replaced. I will not bow. The words were a vow and a threat. They were the last thing he said before the drums called him back to the road. He rides now with the army like a man who has decided his fate and will force the world to follow. He is a king who governs well, who plans with cold clarity, who has built a kingdom that can stand. He is also a man whose heart is a battlefield, whose nights are haunted by voices, whose days are shadowed by a peace he cannot accept. He marches toward a thing he fears and hates, convinced that destruction is the only cure. The road stretches on. The sun moves. The soldiers march. The crown sits heavy on his head in the small hours, when the world is a thin place and the mind is a raw thing. He feels the echo of that other presence, the one that said, simply, the giants means, harm. The echo is a splinter of light he cannot remove. It is a question without an answer. He will choose his path when the moment comes. He will write his fate with the same hands that have built walls and signed decrees. For now, he rides. For now, the drums beat. For now, the whisper in his ear grows louder, and the vow in his mouth hardens into action. I must destroy him, he tells the night. I must destroy the source of my fear. The words are both a promise and a prophecy. The march continues, and the world waits to see whether a king who has tasted peace will learn to accept it, or whether he will spend his life fighting the very thing that might have saved him.